This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Reconciliation night at the Republican convention.
We have to go with Donald Trump.
As Nikki Haley endorses Trump. I'm Steve Futterman in Milwaukee.
A Milwaukee man shot dead by police near the Republican National Convention as concerns over campaign security continue. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez convicted of all counts at his federal corruption trial.
I have never violated my public oath.
Julie Walker, New York.
The U.S. Supreme Court granted a stay of execution for a Texas man shortly before his planned lethal injection. I'm Haya Panjwani.
On Wall Street, another rate cut rally for stocks. Fresh records were set and the Dow soared 700 points. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Billionaire Elon Musk calls a new law in the state of California the last straw for him. I'm Clayton Neville.
All ahead on America in the Morning. One-time rivals of Donald Trump, including Ron DeSantis, Marco Rubio, and Nikki Haley, were featured speakers on day 2 of the Republican National Convention, offering full support for the former president. Steve Futterman reports from Milwaukee on the themes of the evening: immigration, border security, and putting America first.
Please welcome the next President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump.
With Donald Trump again in the arena, his right ear still bandaged, night 2 of the GOP convention was an evening for some of those who have challenged Trump to come to the Republican altar and offer their support. The most prominent of those was his fiercest challenger this year, Nikki Haley. Just in case you forgot, this is what she said about Donald Trump in January.
No, I've long called for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75.
Boy, was it different last night.
I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
Haley received a mixed reception when she was introduced. The delegates did not give her a rousing ovation, but she reached out to a key part of the electorate, those who might be uncomfortable with Trump.
I haven't always agreed with President Trump, but we agree more often than we disagree. We agree on keeping America strong. We agree on keeping America safe.
The other speakers were all in. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis mocked Joe Biden.
We need a commander-in-chief who can lead 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency.
And Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who 8 years ago Trump mocked by tagging him with the name Little Marco, said he's 100% with Trump.
It is time to put our country and our people first again. And if we do, together, we will make our people wealthy again.
Many of the speeches focused on illegal immigration and drugs coming across the southern border. Ann Fundner lost her son to a fentanyl overdose. She put the blame on Democrats.
This fight is for your children. We owe it to our children to elect a president who will win the war against fentanyl once and for all.
Tonight will feature J.D. Vance. The vice presidential nominee will give his acceptance speech. I'm Steve Futterman at the Republican convention in Milwaukee.
A man was shot and killed near the site of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, with campaign security a major concern just days after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Here's correspondent John Stolnis with more on the story.
Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman says 5 police officers from Columbus, Ohio, who were in town for security briefings, shot and killed a Milwaukee man who was holding 2 knives and threatening another person.
The officers identified themselves as police officers and made several commands to the suspect to drop the knife. The subject refused these commands and charged at the other individual with the knives. At this time, several officers discharged their firearms, subsequently striking the suspect.
At a news conference yesterday, Norman defended the right of these out-of-state officers to get involved and kill this individual.
Someone's life was in danger. These officers, who are not from this area, took upon themselves to act to save someone's life today.
Although it took place near the Republican National Convention site, the incident itself had nothing to do with the convention. But it comes just a few days after the Trump assassination attempt, with questions about campaign security and the effectiveness of the Secret Service in providing protection at political venues. Amateur video from the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting last Saturday shows some in attendance watching the gunman try to climb up the roof of the building he fired from, trying to get police officers' attention.
We have criminals, we have drug dealers, we have people that just not...
Still no further details about a possible motive for last weekend's attempt on Trump's life. In the days leading up to the shooting, Trump's protection detail increased due to a threat on the life of the former president from Iran, seeking revenge for the 2020 killing of Qasem Soleimani, the former leader of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. He was killed by U.S. forces under President Trump's orders. In a statement, National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson said they consider this a national and homeland security matter of the highest priority. John Stolnis, Washington.
Top Democrat found guilty. That story and more when America in the Morning returns after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. Several areas of potential severe weather today. Here's the forecast from AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
An expansive storm system extending from the Great Lakes through the Northeast will be producing heavy, gusty thunderstorms out ahead of it even early this morning through portions of Illinois and Indiana. These storms have already had a history of producing gusts over 90 miles per hour and even a tornado. The main concern today will be over southern Illinois into southern Indiana and Ohio before continuing into northern Kentucky this afternoon and eastward to western Pennsylvania and central New York. These storms will still produce damaging winds, hail, flash flooding, and even an isolated tornado. Few scattered thunderstorms will form farther west along the same system through portions of northern Missouri into Nebraska and Kansas, a few of which could become gusty. And then we'll have another area of heavier storms developing along the front range of the Rockies from Wyoming into Colorado and then expand into parts of western Nebraska and Kansas late today and tonight. These storms could contain gusty winds and cause flash flooding. Out ahead of the system, it is going to be hot and humid once again. We'll see 90s and 100s from the southern plains into the southeast and continuing into the Tennessee Valley, Middle Atlantic, and the coastal Northeast. AccuWeather real field temperatures could be close to 110. Some relief may be felt in the southeast where scattered afternoon thunderstorms could lead to briefly cooler conditions. The real relief will be in the northern plains in the wake of this frontal system where a much more comfortable weather will be moving in with lower humidity and lower temperatures. That's the weather across America. Indianapolis, Indiana will have plenty of clouds along with some heavier showers and thunderstorms today with a high of 86. It'll be a seasonably hot day in Reno, Nevada with plenty of sunshine and a high of 95. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Bob Menendez could face expulsion from the United States Senate after being convicted in his corruption trial. Correspondent Julie Walker reports there were calls from Democrat leadership demanding he immediately resign.
New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez convicted of all counts at his federal corruption trial, including accepting cash, gold bars, a Mercedes, and acting as a foreign agent for Egypt.
Obviously, I'm deeply, deeply disappointed by the jury's decision. I have every faith that the law and the facts did not sustain that decision.
The 70-year-old Democrat says he's disappointed but believes he'll win an appeal.
I have never violated my public oath. I have never been anything but a patriot of my country and for my country. I have never, ever been a foreign agent.
U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says justice was served.
This case has always been about shocking levels of corruption. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in the form of cash, gold bars, and Mercedes-Benz. This wasn't politics as usual. This was politics for profit. And now that a jury has convicted Bob Menendez, his years of selling his office to the highest bidder have finally come to an end.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and others in Menendez's own party calling for him to step down. His sentencing is October 29th. 2 other businessmen were found guilty in the bribery scheme with Menendez. His wife Nadine faces her own trial. Julie Walker, New York.
Minutes before he faced being executed, a Texas man was granted a stay before the lethal injection would have taken place. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has details.
The U.S. Supreme Court granted a stay of execution for a Texas man shortly before his planned lethal injection in the killing of an elderly woman decades ago. The nation's high court issued the stay about 20 minutes before Ruben Gutierrez was to have been taken to the Huntsville, Texas death chamber for execution. The 47-year-old inmate was condemned for the 1998 stabbing of 85-year-old Escolastica Harrison. Gutierrez said he did not kill the woman, and his long-sought DNA testing he claims would help prove he had no role in her death. The brief order from the High Court said its stay of execution would remain in effect until the justices decide whether they should review his appeal request. I'm Haya Panjwani.
When we return on America in the Morning, Trump's investor effect and new home sale prices after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after another record-setting day yesterday. The Dow jumped to a record high. It was up more than 700 points for its best performance in more than a year. The S&P 500 index also opens this morning at a new record high.
It shows you that there's not a lot of investors out there that are looking for exits, even though seasonal forces start to get a little bit tougher and, of course, into the fall.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. It's being called a rate cut rally for stocks. Investors are hoping for an interest rate cut from the Fed. Traders see the odds of one by September at 100% now, according to the CME FedWatch tool. Some investors are also seeing that the next president could be ex-President Trump, widely seen as paving the way for more tax breaks for corporations and for the wealthy, and more favorable policies for investors. Gold jumped to a record yesterday, up above $2,460 an ounce on hopes the Fed will cut rates. U.S. crude oil back down to where it was at the end of June, around $80 a barrel. Retail sales better than expected last month. Americans opened their wallets to spend. A dip was expected.
The consumer, the backbone of the U.S. economy, continues to remain on relatively solid footing. There is still a good amount of borrowing and spending power on part of the consumer.
Stifel's Lindsay Piegza on CNBC.
Two of the categories that continue to do very well are the restaurant sector. People are eating out. And then you have, of course, e-commerce continuing to do well. The non-store retailers are still outpacing every other sector in retail.
That's Forrester's Sucharita Kodali on CNBC. Warner Brothers Discovery will cut nearly 1,000 workers. Variety says it's a cost-cutting move and includes jobs in finance and at the Max streaming service.
Where are the discounts, if any, for would-be homebuyers this summer?
It's in new construction. Would-be homebuyers shopping for a newly built home last month may have caught a price cut. More of the builders dropped prices in June. But the builders, they're not very optimistic about selling homes right now.
All about mortgage interest rates. The average on the 30-year fixed was in the low 7% range for all of June, but then began dropping in July to now 6.8%, according to Mortgage News Daily. The expectation is that rates will drop further. 31% of builders said they cut home prices in July. That is higher than the 29% that did in June. They're still trying everything to get buyers in the door.
CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Johnson & Johnson and United Airlines. It's the second and final day of the Amazon Prime Day sale. And the Mirage closes in Las Vegas after 30 years.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. He said California isn't the place he wants to be. After these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Billionaire Elon Musk is moving more of his businesses out of California. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Elon Musk again announcing a move from California to Texas, this seemingly a big one. The CEO said that his decision to move SpaceX and X, formerly known as Twitter, is in response to a bill signed this week in California protecting LGBTQ students from public disclosure. Right now in the U.S., a number of conservative states have laws on the books requiring teachers to tell parents if a child changes their gender identity or their name. That policy now banned in California. Musk said for him it was the last straw and insisted families will leave California to protect their kids. SpaceX relocating from Hawthorne, California to Starbase, Texas, and according to Musk, X will move its headquarters from San Francisco to Austin. He said he's tired of dodging violent drug addicts and gangs to get in and out of his building. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Biden is finalizing plans to endorse major changes to the Supreme Court in the coming weeks, including proposals for legislation to establish term limits for the justices and an enforceable ethics code. The Washington Post is reporting that Biden is also weighing whether to call for a constitutional amendment to eliminate broad immunity for presidents and other constitutional office holders following the recent Supreme Court ruling granting such immunity. Term limits and an ethics code would be subject to congressional approval, but could face stiff challenges in both houses of Congress. America in the Morning for Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Reconciliation night at the Republican convention.
We have to go with Donald Trump.
I'm Steve Futterman in Milwaukee.
More's being learned about safety lapses following the Trump assassination attempt.
A threat from Iran prompted the Secret Service to boost Donald Trump's protection. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Deadly storms, dangerous heat, and lack of power impacting hundreds of thousands. I'm Clayton Neville.
A wildfire causing problems in Hawaii.
Ingrid Andress is apologizing for a drunken rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. I'm Kevin Carr.
Comedian Jack Black has canceled the rest of the tour for his band Tenacious D. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. All quiet in the tropics. The National Hurricane Center says no activity expected in the next 48 hours. With today's forecast, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
We are once again looking at an area of severe thunderstorms across the western plains states today. These storms will fire up along the front range of the Rockies from eastern Wyoming through Colorado and then build eastward into parts of southwest South Dakota into western Nebraska and western Kansas. These storms will have the potential for damaging winds, hail, and local flash flooding. We have been watching a frontal system shifting to the south and east over the last several days. From that, there have been heavy gusty thunderstorms along and ahead of that boundary. Even yesterday, some gusty thunderstorms moved through the portions of the northeast and the middle Atlantic. And today, that front will once again cause strong to severe thunderstorms across a good portion of the northeast into the middle Atlantic and extending westward to the Tennessee Valley into southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. These storms will be capable of producing flooding downpours, damaging winds, and hail. And then before the thunderstorms arrive, it'll be a hot day in the eastern U.S. with highs back into the 90s and AccuWeather real field temperatures moving past 100 in the afternoon. This will also continue into the southeast and along the Gulf Coast westward to Texas. The west will remain hot with high pressure covering a good portion of the region. Interior areas from California into Arizona and then northward to Idaho will see highs in the 90s and 100s. There will also be a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms developing again today, mainly over the higher elevations. More comfortable weather will encompass again the northern plains, but also extend into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley with highs in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Immigration and border security took center stage at day 2 of the Republican National Convention, with those on the podium including House Speaker Mike Johnson, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and former Trump cabinet member Nikki Haley. In Milwaukee at the RNC, Steve Futterman has highlights.
With Donald Trump again in the arena, his right ear still bandaged, night 2 of the GOP convention was an evening for some of those who have challenged Trump to come to the Republican altar and offer their support. The most prominent of those was his fiercest challenger this year, Nikki Haley.
I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period. I haven't always agreed with President Trump, but we agree more often than we disagree. We agree on keeping America strong.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis mocked Joe Biden.
We need a commander-in-chief who can lead 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. America cannot afford 4 more years of a weekend at Bernie's presidency.
And Florida Senator Marco Rubio said he's 100% with Trump.
It is time to put our country and our people first again. And if we do, together, we will make our people wealthy again.
Many of the speeches focused on illegal immigration and drugs coming across the southern border. Ann Fundner lost her son to a fentanyl overdose. She put the blame on Democrats.
This fight is for your children.
Tonight will feature J.D. Vance. The vice presidential nominee will give his acceptance speech. I'm Steve Futterman at the Republican Convention in Milwaukee.
On the day that a 20-year-old attempted to assassinate Donald Trump, a threat from Iran prompted the Secret Service to boost the former president's protection before Saturday's attempt to kill him. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, the extraordinary event moved President Biden to order increased Secret Service protection that morning, and not just for Trump, as several former Trump administration officials still receive security due to continued threats after the 2020 killing of a top Iranian general.
I'm not in a position to share particulars because we do not disclose tactics, techniques, and procedures. But let me say that adjustments have been made to the former president's detail, to the current president's detail, as well as to the vice president's detail.
2 U.S. officials say a threat from Iran prompted the Secret Service to boost Donald Trump's protection before Saturday's attempt to kill him. The officials say the assassination attempt appears unrelated to the original threat from Iran. Still, upon learning of it, the Biden administration told the Secret Service, which surged resources to protect Trump. That wasn't enough to prevent Saturday's attack. While in office, Trump ordered the killing of a top Iranian general.
He was a bloodthirsty terror, and he's no longer a terror. He's dead.
The National Security Council says Tehran has threatened former Trump administration officials ever since. They include ex-Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and top Iran aide Brian Hook. As of 2 years ago, the State Department was paying more than $2 million a month to give them 24/7 protection. Pentagon officials in charge at the time are also still protected, including then Defense Secretary Mark Esper, ex-Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley, and retired General Frank McKenzie, who as the Central Command Chief was in charge of the operation. An NSC spokeswoman says there is no known link between Saturday's shooter and any accomplices, foreign or domestic. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The investigation continues into last Saturday's assassination attempt against former President Trump. Signs of trouble at the Trump rally in western Pennsylvania were evident before the gunman opened fire. That story from correspondent Julie Walker.
We are a solidly Republican county, demonstrably so through the years. But the reality is that there are no safe places in American society and really in the world anymore.
How Thomas Matthew Crooks accessed a roof 400 feet from former President Trump, getting shots off, piercing his ear and killing an attendee, under investigation. Police had a report of a suspicious man, were apparently exchanging photos. Witnesses pointed and shouted at an armed man on the roof.
The part that I was told is that the officer was assisted up to the roof, and the shooter had sensed him, heard him, I don't know, but turned, and the officer saved his own life, right? Releases, falls to the ground, and again, what I understand is got on the radio and said gun, gun.
Butler Township Manager Tom Knight says an officer was hoisted up.
Rifle was pointed at the officer. The officer, defensive move, kind of ducked, fell, lost his grip on the building.
Sheriff Michael Sloop.
I hope they're not made a scapegoat because they did their job to the best of their abilities.
The Secret Service director says while the buck stops with her, they were responsible for the rally where Trump was. Local police were responsible for the outer perimeter where the gunman was. Investigators looking into whether roof access had been properly locked down. I'm Julie Walker.
When we return, tornadoes near Chicago, wildfire in Hawaii, and more news from around the nation when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. Well, here we are on the 15th of July, and the impacts of severe weather and heat wave grip much of the U.S. as we approach the midsummer mark. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports tornadoes near Chicago, hurricane-force winds around the Great Lakes, and people still in the dark in Texas.
As a derecho tracked through parts of Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana, the National Weather Service says that at least 5 tornadoes touched down in the greater Chicago area Monday night. Winds as high as 100 miles per hour in northern Illinois. Power knocked out to hundreds of thousands.
I've been driving back and forth in between my work to get some tools, trying to work on the generator, all the way to my work and back. Nothing, no power anywhere.
Fox 32 in Chicago spoke with residents cleaning up the mess.
We saw the branches start coming down, and then that's when I sent my wife and the mother-in-law and the kids in the basement, and then just as they went in the basement, I heard the thud.
It was horrible. I mean, the winds were crazy. It was absolutely probably the craziest we've seen. We were getting messages that there was a tornado spotted somewhere near O'Hare. My kids were frantic and wanting to go in the basement, so they went in the basement. We kind of stuck and watched upstairs as it went by, and the rain was either going sideways or directly at the house, or it kept changing. The angles kept changing.
In northern Indiana, the National Weather Service confirming at least 3 tornadoes. One woman killed after authorities say a tree fell on her house. Massive flooding in southern Illinois after a dam failed. In the Northeast, especially, and dangerously hot. Cities like Philadelphia and New York dealing with triple digits. In Texas, the power's still an issue a week and a half after Hurricane Beryl knocked it out for much of the Houston area. Still thousands in the dark. Texas Governor Greg Abbott blaming CenterPoint Energy, which is now under investigation for its hurricane preparedness and how it's handled the outages.
If they don't comply with my request and refuse to work with us, then we're going to completely reevaluate the current status of CenterPoint in our area.
The governor now directing the company to start their preparations for the next potential storm in southeast Texas right now. I'm Clayton Neville.
Deja vu in the 50th state. A fast-moving wildfire threatens homes, this time on the island of Kauai. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Residents of about 200 homes in Kauai, a rural community on Kauai in the Hawaiian Islands, were evacuated as firefighters tried to stop a windswept brush fire that broke out around noon on Monday. 2 shelters were opened. The fire was threatening multiple structures, and overnight the Kauai Fire Department confirmed that an outbuilding had been destroyed. Witnesses said that within half an hour of noticing the fire in the mountains, it had moved to 2 football fields away from the town. People were running out with suitcases, and the air was filled with smoke. Hawaii County posted that power has been shut down to parts of the grid in the Waimea area from Hana to Hanapepe. In addition to dropping water on the fire from helicopters, firefighters and landowners were using heavy machinery to create breaks to push the fire away and prevent it from spreading. I'm Jennifer King.
The Office of Special Counsel Jack Smith officially files an appeal in the classified documents case against former President Trump. Judge Cannon's decision is expected to tee up a fight that could reach the U.S. Supreme Court. Cannon's order held that Smith's selection as special counsel violated the Constitution. It's not believed a revived prosecution could reach trial before the November election. Ending today, Amazon Prime Day, and there's plenty of bargains. It's also a big event for scammers. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
Prime Day, a 2-day discount event for Amazon Prime members, is underway and wraps up on Wednesday. In updated guidance published last week, Melanie McGovern, a spokeswoman for the Better Business Bureau, reminds consumers to be very careful.
We know that scammers like to prey on people who are online shopping, if it's an inbox message, if it's a social media message, if it's a fake website that pops up. This is the time that we do see this type of activity.
Like phishing scams.
Use caution whenever you're clicking into emails to make sure that you not click into one of these fake websites and end up giving up your personal information or credit card information.
The Better Business Bureau published a report last month that said it received a record number of phishing reports last year. I'm Shelley Adler.
With a hacker group named Shiny Hunters and a data storage company named Snowflake, it's hard to take the next story too seriously, but AT&T sure did, paying the hackers about $350,000 to delete stolen customer data, which was only about a third of what they were asking for. Here's tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
AT&T has reportedly paid $370,000 to a hacker group in exchange for deleting stolen customer data, according to a report from Wired.com. The Shiny Hunters hacking group originally asked for $1 million in Bitcoin, but AT&T talked them down to the amount which it paid. Once the ransom was paid, the hacker then provided a video to prove they had deleted the data according to the terms of their agreement. Before the AT&T breach became known, it was reported that Ticketmaster and Santander Bank were also compromised via the stolen login credentials of a certain third-party cloud storage company called Snowflake, which may have compromised up to 165 other customers' login credentials. Tell us what you think at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Your check of sports on America in the Morning. Here's Robert Workman.
The American League took the 94th MLB All-Star Game 5-3 over the National League last night in Arlington, Texas. After 2 scoreless innings, Shohei Ohtani belted a 3-run homer to give the NL the lead, but the AL came back to tie it in a home half. Juan Soto doubled in 2 runs, then scored on David Fry's RBI knock. In the 5th inning, Jarren Duran broke the tie with a 2-run shot to right off Hunter Green.
I know he throws really hard, so I was like, all right, I'm hoping he throws me a fastball first pitch so I can see how hard it is. And then he just gave me a pitch to put a good swing on.
The pitchers took over from there with Emmanuel Clase striking out Brian Reynolds to end it. Duran received the Ted Williams Award as All-Star MVP, one Red Sox to another. The American League has now won 10 of the last 11 Midsummer Classics. The regular season resumes on Friday. The final 10 rounds of the MLB Draft were on Tuesday, highlighted by the Angels choosing Lucas Ramirez, son of 12-time All-Star Manny Ramirez, in the 17th round. The high school outfielder is committed to College World Series champion Tennessee. In round 19, the Red Sox took third baseman D'Angelo Ortiz, son of Hall of Famer David Ortiz. Soccer, the U.S. women and Costa Rica played to a scoreless draw in a friendly in Washington, D.C. It's their final tune-up before the Paris Olympics. The opening match for the U.S. women is with Zambia next Thursday. The U.S. men in the Olympics for the first time since 2008 open up next Wednesday against host nation France. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. When we return on America in the Morning, butchering the national anthem after these messages. This is America in the Morning. After attempting what many of us call singing a version of the national anthem, Ingrid Andress is coming clean. Kevin Carr reports the country music singer is canceling some upcoming shows and heading to rehab.
Country singer Ingrid Andress is apologizing and offering an explanation for striking a sour note, or rather, quite a few of them. At Major League Baseball's Home Run Derby in Arlington, Texas on Monday, Andress performed a disastrous version of the national anthem.
that our flag was still there.
The televised clip quickly went viral on social media, with many fans and viewers criticizing the rough rendition, calling it disrespectful and cringeworthy. Some commentators even compared it to Roseanne Barr's infamous performance of the Star-Spangled Banner at a San Diego Padres game in 1990. On Tuesday, Andrus posted an explanation on X saying, quote, "I'm not going to BS y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help I need. That was not me last night." She went on to apologize to Major League Baseball, the fans, and the country itself. Her appearance was meant to help promote her new song Colorado 9, which comes out on July 24th. Now her upcoming shows in both Nashville and Denver have been canceled. I'm Kevin Carr.
From country to another genre, apparently even a rock music comedy tour is not immune from treading in a bad way into politics. A world tour consisting of actor and comedian Jack Black and actor-musician Tenacious D was abruptly canceled over a comment from musician Kyle Gass. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports.
Comedian Jack Black has canceled the rest of the tour for his band Tenacious D after a comment from bandmate Kyle Gass regarding an assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Kyle Gass of Tenacious D was presented with a birthday cake at their concert in Sydney on Sunday. Jack Black told him to make a wish, and Gass said, "Don't miss Trump next time." Black writes on Instagram he was blindsided by that comment and he does not condone hate speech or encourage political violence. Black says he feels it's no longer appropriate to continue the Tenacious D tour and all future creative plans are on hold. Gass apologized on Instagram for what he calls a severe lack of judgment, saying his comment was highly inappropriate, dangerous, and a terrible mistake. The tour was set to hit Australia and New Zealand before coming to the U.S. in October. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
That's our show for today, Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer is Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.